Complacency is a silent killer. It's a killer of motivation, determination, happiness, and most important of all, progress. When you grow complacent in things, there's no reason to change them for the better. A great way to envision this is, let's say you work a dead-end job, an easy imagination for the vast majority of us, and there's this one bad thing you and your coworkers have been complaining about for years. Your bosses keep pussyfooting around or outright ignoring you, but this change would be better for everyone. You'd all be happier, the company would make more money, you'd make more money. It's a good decision. But this one thing needs to change. Some people tell you, if you don't like it, just go to another job. But that's stupid. You like this job. For the most part, you like your coworkers. It's close to your house, so no commute. The actual job itself is even really good. It's just this one, albeit major thing that bothers you and all your coworkers. But after years of complaining, being shoved off, having other people tell you it's fine, just ignore it, or if you don't like it, just leave, you become complacent, as do your coworkers. Then it never gets fixed. Your job becomes a rotating door of people coming and going, and by the end of it all, that's left is you and the rest of your tired, worn out, apathetic coworkers. That's not to say all complacency is bad. Complacency can be good if the things you have don't need improvement. For example, when I am able to make a career out of this content creation thing, I don't want a big house with fancy cars or expensive things. I just want a small one-bedroom apartment with fast internet and my cat. I'd be complacent in a simple life with simple things. But most of the time, complacency is used to excuse bad things not being changed. This brings me to generators in Dead by Daylight, and this community's odd attitude to the way that they work. Now, I want you to keep my job metaphor from a couple of paragraphs ago in mind because you're going to find a lot of similarities between my scenario and what I'm talking about here. So the problem: generators and the way they are done are not only boring and samey, but they are also unhealthy for the flow of the game. Perhaps in a time when this game was more of a cat and mouse hide and seek game, the way that they were done was fine. It was something simple and easy for a small development team made in a time where they didn't expect the game to have any more than 3 killers and 4 survivors. With a handful of perks, people would play for a month or two and then put down. Looking at earlier versions of the game, there is no way they ever expected the absolute behemoth they would eventually come to own. As such, while many things in the game have been changed, generators have, for the most part, stayed the exact same. Bar a few number changes here and there and the recent gen damage, regression limit generators are still, at their core, about holding M1 for 90 seconds, occasionally clicking M4, or spacebar for those of you who don't rebind your keys, when the game prompts you. The issues this presents is far more vast than you might imagine and affects both sides pretty hard. For survivors, it's simply boring. Nobody likes doing generators. The most exhilarating thing about doing gens is hunting them down, and sometimes trying to do them in between ducking away when the killer comes to check in. In extremely rare, intense situations, it can be kind of exciting, but that's not going to happen most of the time. Most of the time, you'll be working on a generator for what feels like an eternity, occasionally sneaking away every 35 seconds or so to wait for the killer to go away before walking back to finish it. There's another problem introduced with generators where they are your only objective as a survivor. This presents problems for killers as well, and I'll cover that in a moment, but before I do, let's keep talking about the problems this poses for survivor. Since this is your only objective, actively not doing generators can feel like throwing. And when your teammates are doing anything but generators, you feel like they are also throwing. So this leads to inherent animosity towards randoms. What the fuck are they doing? Why aren't they doing gens? Why is he in a chest? Why is she doing a totem? What the fuck? Just do gens. If you just do gens, we win. It's a crazy thought process. Combine both of these issues and you get a third issue. Because gens are boring, and because people think not doing gens is throwing, you get people trying to escape the boredom by being designated the chase me player. These players try and run the killer for the time it takes to finish gens, get upset when their teammates aren't doing gens, and actively damage the game themselves by wasting time trying to get the killers to chase them instead of actually doing what needs to be done. What that leads to is even more animosity between teammates, and it can be one of the major factors in solo queue being as frustrating as it is. Now, how do these problems affect killers? Well, while survivors have one objective, do gens, killers have to patrol gens, defend gens, chase survivors, down and hook survivors. While survivors have one goal and one goal only, killers have about 3. Because of this, killers are constantly finding themselves having to micromanage every action they do, where one mistake can destroy all pressure and lose the game, even if it happens at 4 to 5 gens. I'll give you an example. I was trying the new Sadako on Sunday and I was on Swamp. I managed to down 2 people at main and get them into the basement as well. However, the 4th member was down there there, unhooking the other two, and the three of them body blocked enough to let the person I had downed wiggle free. The mistake I made was not going to an external hook, and this mistake cost me the game. Because he was able to wiggle out, they took that stun time to leave and scatter, and by the time I had downed him again, the rest had fully reset and spread out, causing me to lose the game completely. The reason minor mistakes cost entire games is because while you are distracted with the chase, gens are getting done, sometimes up to 3 at a time. That's why hooks are so valuable, because potentially you can keep up to 3 people distracted at once. One on hook, one going for unhook, and one being chased currently. But this can sometimes not work the way you think it does, and because chases can last long amounts of time, the solution then is not to chase for a very long time, but it feels like shit when you attempt to chase someone and you almost have them, but then the optimal amount of time has passed, so you either have to abandon them and go somewhere else or commit and lose a gen. And to be honest, just because you break chase to go patrol gens doesn't mean you will make it in time to stop the gen from popping. There's a reason the best killers in the games are the ones that can traverse the map quickly and end chases quickly, because it eliminates a bunch of these issues. All these problems compound on each other, causing what is essentially a pseudo gen rush, or a natural gen rush. You don't need to bring a gen rushing build, because if you and your teammates just do gens, then the game finishes incredibly quickly anyway. Now, this is a discussion I've talked about before, although not as in depth as I've done here, and I've gotten quite a few comments and responses. Play a different game. It's always been this way. It works, etc., etc. And all of these are the result of that oh so important complacency I talked about in the beginning of this video. But the thing is that no, I don't want to play a different game. I want the problems with the game that I love to be solved. It's always been this way is lazy and unhelpful and shows a defeatist attitude that stops improvement, and it works is just a straight up lie. It doesn't work. These issues have been major complaints among the community for years. Hell, even before I joined the community, I'd hear people who play the game complain about how boring gens are or how fast they go, and it's led to this annoying everlasting meta for killers where they have to run slowdown perks in some capacity so the game doesn't feel over the moment it started. It annoys survivors because their one goal is now hindered to an outlandish degree, and discussions around gen speed, regression, progression perks or otherwise devolve into more shit flinging about which side has it worse when it comes to the gens, when in reality the way gens are done fucks everyone. That being said, how do we fix it? Well, here's my solution. Step 1. Generators now need parts to fix. Parts come in 5 types: wiring, gears, levers, gasoline, and coils. Each survivor can hold one of each type of part at a time and a maximum of 3 parts. Parts take 5 seconds to install, with 1 additional second for each part you have on you. So for example, if you have a gear, a lever, and a coil, it will take a total of 7 seconds to install all 3 if you just hold down the button. But if you hold it down for 5 seconds, then the first part will get installed, and then if you let go and try to go back in, then you'll have to wait another 5 seconds to install the second part. Whereas you try to install all 3 of them at one time, then it takes 7 seconds. Make sense? Cool. And generators cannot be damaged to remove parts. Once all parts are installed, the generator is complete. What parts are needed to complete a generator are known by going up to the generator and inspecting it. Each generator will need a total of 10 parts holding a combination of at least one of each of the part types. For example, you might inspect one generator and it shows you need 5 wires, 1 coil, 2 levers, 1 gears, and 1 gasoline, while another might show 2 wires, 2 coils, 3 levers, 1 gear, and 2 gasolines. This ensures the parts you have on you will always be needed for at least 1 generator on the map, but also means that you can't hoard parts and finish a generator instantly. After a generator is inspected, a list of parts you need for that generator is shown on your screen as a checklist, and the generator you are currently working on is highlighted until you either finish that generator or inspect a different one. Parts are found throughout the map. Wires and levers are found in electrical boxes mounted on poles, trees, and walls. Gasoline canisters are often found in main building, shack, and basement. Gears can be located from toolboxes or can be brought into the trial with you with the use of a toolbox item. And coils are found on machinery that changes from map to map. Inside cars on Auto Haven or computers on labs, for example. Killers can now interact with generators to sabotage them. Sabotaging a generator will increase the amount of time needed to install future parts. Sabotaging a generator can only be done once per generator and makes all future parts take 3 extra seconds to install, with each additional part taking an additional 1 second. So if we go back to our scenario where before it would take 7 seconds, this time it would take 10 to install 3 parts, or take 8 to install 1 part. Step 3, a huge rework to gen regression and progression perks to work them more around finding parts and manipulating what parts are needed for generators to be finished. I don't have all the details, but there would be things like start the trial with a gallon of gasoline and all generators only need 1 gallon to be repaired. All generators no longer need coils. Generators you interact with now need 11 parts to be completed. This would be a perk for killers. And things to that effect. If you guys want a part 2 to this video where I go deeper into a full-blown rework concept, let me know and I'll start working on that. Finally, step 4. Because of the increased length of time needed to complete gens, what with survivors needing to go on scavenger hunts, it now takes 5 hooks to kill a survivor. Killers who have alternative kill methods will be adjusted at this time. With all these changes, generators become more fun to do as they require a scavenger hunt mechanic. Killers can focus on chases, downs, and more interactability with the survivors, and overall, the entire core of the game will become updated, fresh, and exciting. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you again for joining me. Thank you for the warm welcome back. I really do miss you guys, and I do miss doing these videos. Once again, a special thank you to my channel members, Nuclear Bomb, Cat Lover, and Spirit Upgrades for their additional support. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, please click that join button down below to see how you can see videos early, as well as get things like discount codes on merch. Thank you all so much. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.